What made you lose interest in a person you had a crush on? I realized she was mean. About 4 years ago. I moved in next door to a beautiful woman. She was fun and we got along great. We started doing activities together. We hiked. We worked out. We watched movies. Then one day, we went to a fast food drive-thru and she completely berated the workers for no good reason. I was mortified. Then as we were driving away she said they're the stupidest people. They never listen. Then I said, you know, they probably spit in your food. Right? She gave me a thanks a lot look. My crush ended that day. She was a bad parent to her kids. I was on a date with a girl. We were taking a little walk. The weather was quite cold so she was wearing a big coat. She took her hands out of her pockets. Her hands were full of tissues, scraps of paper, candy wrappers, and she just dumped it all on the floor. We were a couple of meters away from a bin. I pretty much went straight home. I found her on Tinder while her fiance was deployed in the Navy. I got a promotion at work. He got butt-hurt and then stabbed me in the back. He was given a part of the promotion that I was given. Not even half of the responsibilities. When I realized that he was a weasel but also not good at being a weasel, he wasn't SI anymore. She lit it. It was supposed to be a nice walk in the park. We got Subway and she threw the wrapper and napkins in a garden. I picked it up and threw it out myself after she called me weird and walked away. We got into an argument during my freshman year while we were in the talking phase and then she screamed at me in the hallway. I noticed he was an attention seeker. I heard the same cool stories he told me when I first met him that drew me in again and again and realized he was egotistical. Basically, if you say you've climbed a mountain, he would interrupt to say he's climbed a bigger one that was more dangerous. If you've been to Tenerife. She wasn't interested in me that way. Lack of interest from the other person is kind of a deal breaker for me. He blew up at our waitress for absolutely no reason other than his having a bad day. Idiot. She took a cat she had adopted and allowed it to run away because it had become noisy at night. I knew she allowed him to run away because a day later he came back smelling of the outside and meowing at her door. I took him in. Washed him in the bathroom. And she kept sarcastically saying, "That's your cat now. Full stop." Yay. He is. And I still have him and he's still annoying and loud, but I love him anyway. It's the ugliest sort of person who selfishly adopts a cat while depressed and then tries to rid themselves of this life they took responsibility for. Played hard to get. He told me that he wanted me to sleep with other people and tell him about it. And that he stood on the edge of a bridge all night long debating on jumping because he didn't think he could make me happy enough. I showed him my holographic Squirtle notebook and then shortly after it mysteriously vanished from my cubby and he wouldn't look me in the eye. I asked him about it. "I know what you did, Joey." When he and his friend told a 5-year-old to jump off a cliff. That was Ed up. In 7th grade. I brought her a slice of cheesecake at lunch for Valentine's Day and she laughed at me in front of her friends and wouldn't even take it. I was socially awkward at the time, but damn. Finding out she had a boyfriend and a dude on the side. Bad money management. Not into someone who'll eventually expect me to help them pay off several credit cards. I realized every time we spent time together I ended up feeling bad about myself. I saw someone's crush on me leave their body, so I'm going to tell that. It was the end of the 4th grade and this girl was being very playful and chasing me around the past few days. She wrote her number in my yearbook and wrote "call me anytime," so that's when I say I lost my virginity. But we had a class party because it was the last day and I had to clean up the bowls of snack food. I didn't want to throw the food away, so I came up with the idea of stuffing my pockets full of the pretzels and Cheez-Its. My friend thought it was genius and did it too, so we celebrated how smart we are. Around this time the girl came around and asked what we were so happy about and I showed her my pocket full of snacks. She recoiled and said it was weird. She also said something like, "I can't believe I chased you," and walked away. We said probably like 4 words to each other after that, including high school. He asked to borrow my hardback of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That was my favorite of the series and I happily lended it to him. 6 months later he finally returned it. The dust jacket was torn. The corners were dented and the spine was broken. That book had been in pristine condition and I nearly cried that he took such little care of it. My 6th grade nether regions were turned to dust. Screw you, Trevor. You book ruining barbarian. Edit well. This got some notice. Thank you for all you commiserating with me. And those who love breaking in books. To clarify, I have plenty of well-loved books. And I love the crackles and old smells. But I was an 11-year-old in 2000 that was mad my stuff had been disrespected. Imagine what he would have done to my fledgling heart. She brought another dude on our date. I got the message loud and clear. Beautiful to look at, but boring to know. I found out she couldn't handle any sort of stress or pressure at all and would just give up. Met him in college. Thought he was funny and cute, so I invited him out for drinks. All he'd talk about were his drunken escapades. Which are fine to have. But have some other interests too. We're still friends and I still kind of like him. But the crush went way down after that. Found out he kills his pets when he gets bored. Based on everything else I learned later, I'm guessing he was a sociopath psychopath. Whoa. Yeah. That's a deal breaker. Other replies. Turned off BC, they threw trash on ground. All were rude to the waiter. He murders innocent creatures. He kept talking about other girls as if I was supposed to compete for his interest and constantly have to prove myself. Too lazy to figure me out for yourself? I'm not good enough for you? Cool. Bye. Your loss. When I realized I was the only one trying to maintain the friendship. Yes. I had a crush on him and he knew and made me think there was something there between us when there never was. We had a 2-week thing when we were 18 that didn't progress beyond kissing and hanging out, listening to music and talking. He would always answer his phone when I called. He didn't have to. He could have ignored me but chose not to. But eventually I got to the point where I was tired of putting effort into a friendship. Any romance prospects at this point had long gone and we were both in relationships, but I still thought we were friends. I said to myself that I wasn't going to call or text him anymore. If he wanted to speak to me then he knew where to find me. That was 18 years ago. He's never bothered. He's seemingly dropped off the face of the earth. No social media. No anything. So even if I wanted to track him down, I wouldn't know where to start. I hope he's okay and happy, wherever he is. This guy was cute as hell and everyone had a crush on him. Then I found out he sexually assaulted a girl 3 years younger than us and told everyone she had an STD. No thanks. That's a pretty big red flag. Yikes. Played those mental games with me, where I had to guess what she means once. I much prefer people to be very blunt with me. Declaring my interest for him. I simply told to my crush, my best friend at the time. We were 14-15, that I had feelings for him. He is straight but received that quite well. Of course, saying that the feelings weren't mutual. It really didn't affect the friendship, to be honest. Simply telling him kinda made me get over that. She called me autistic and ghosted me. He told me in front of our entire 9th grade classroom. Haha. It's not like anyone's ever going to want to marry you. For some reason this was in geography class and we were talking about child brides and the teacher awkwardly used the two of us as an example. Hence the response. I'm engaged now. So ha. Not to him. Though. Heard him laughing about his multiple DUIs. I found out the way he treated the multiple women he was talking to. He would dog on and make fun of them to impress the other, to imply that he wasn't interested and they were the only one he was talking to. She was getting a master's degree and she mentioned casually one time that she was paying people to write her papers for her. Didn't seem fazed by it at all. I worked my ass off to get my masters. So hearing someone thinking nothing of just paying people to basically get it for her really lowered my opinion of her. He told me on the first date, "You have such a witty sense of humor." To be fair, that's not a bad compliment. I had a crush on a girl for like a month. Asked her for her number, she gave it to me and we went out. Ever hear someone monologue for 2 hours about what an awesome person they are? Yup. Non-stop. She was shocked I didn't call her back. He moved himself in after a month of dating and didn't think it was a conversation worth having since we spend most of our time together anyway. No. I existed when convenient. Turned out to be dumber than a box of particularly stupid hammers. And convinced herself she was a genius. Commenting again because I thought of another one. Met a cute guy who made fun of me for going to law school. And then told me I couldn't accept my dream job because I would make more money than him. Dumped the guy. Took the job. He lost interest in me. Just as things were picking up, she started showing maniacal signs, crazy controlling with terrible mood swings. When my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer and I told her I just wanted to be friends for a while because I wasn't emotionally in a spot to build a new romantic relationship with anyone, and she called me a bunch of names and made it all about her. Made me wish I would have just ghosted her. But I don't have it in me to do that to anyone. We were walking happily down the street after a night of boning and other fun. Hand in hand. A black lady bumped into her and she ran into a nearby store yelling about how she had to wash the black off before it tainted her pure white skin. I ghosted her while she was inside. This was before cell phones were common, so it was a clean getaway. Turned out to be an anti-vaxxer. The "you're not like other girls, all my exes were crazy bitches. Why do some men think being low-key sexist is the way to get a GF?" He thought he was so cool for being super manly macho and it was so goddamn off-putting. He would brag to me how many women he'd ed, as if I care. But then say how he hoped I hadn't gotten with anyone else. Like, dude, are you insane? He'd also just make low-key sexist jokes and then berate me when I called him out. He'd act as if I was overreacting. Hint. Followed him on Instagram and saw that he was posting racist and sexist stuff. Unfollowed. Blocked. Never talked to him again. He laughingly told a story about how he had told some girls that they were fat. That was basically the whole story. He saw a couple of girls dressed up for a party and he just walked up and told them they were fat. I had just met this dude freshman year of college and I thought he seemed kind of cute. But after that I avoided him like the plague. Who TF does that? He later married this girl who was all over him that whole year. Despite the fact that it turns out he had a girlfriend at another school. They both sucked, so I guess they deserved each other? To some extent. It's usually just because I realize I don't have a chance in hell. There was the one time a girl I had a crush on who had no intention of reciprocating took massive advantage of it and me. After I realized I had no chance, I just kinda said it. Table manners. You might spend years across the table from someone chewing like the sounds of someone marching through mud. Anyone who didn't like me, I lost interest in. Never chase people who don't chase you back. She told me only certain astrology signs could safely get vaccines without getting autism. I became aware of their Thai actions and personality. Took a long time, but fortunately I was only partially affected by their actions. He made fun of my anxiety. Yelled at me for accidentally dumping soup on him when he was crowded way too close behind me in the lunch line and I turned around. First and last crush. Have never felt one since. Like my brain decided at 11 this isn't worth it and turned that part off. Low-key racism. You can be hanging out like, whoa, this person is great. Then they casually say something about the minority walking by and I'm like, oh no. Dated a dude for about 8 months. While we were dating, I unknowingly got mono and chalked up my severe fatigue to depression, since my depression usually manifests pretty physically. He told me I was depressed because my depression meds were actually just poisoning me and that I was no better than a drug addict for taking them. I thought he was super sweet and kind. He was really attractive. Sharp blue eyes and dark hair. We hardly spoke, but he was very nice and polite to me the entire time. So yes, I developed a crush instantly. One day he called me out of the blue to hang out. I was already with friends, so I invited him to join us. He came by and chatted with my friends and I was happy to see them all get along well. At the end of the day I walked him out and he hugged me, then told me I deserved better looking friends. I immediately lost interest in him. I didn't think he would have said anything close to that. Once you disrespect my friends, I lose interest. Weren't alike at all. Only reason he thought I was cool is because I'm a girl and I play video games. When she flat out told me the races should remain separate and only bad things happen when genetics are not kept pure. I think she may have been too inbred to even comprehend the argument. Had another that behaved like an MLM. Kind of pay to play. Apparently, she was accustomed to being plied with gifts. Then, there was one time I saw a crush at a bar in my 20s. She came over and was super friendly. She got pretty why when she flat out asked me to pay for her drink and I said no. She walked over with that drink and expected me to pay her bar tab. Which, in my mind, is very different from me offering to buy her a drink. Any crushing I had on her died right then. She would try to behave depressed for attention. She just turned into a bad person, bullying kids and stuff. 3 years ago she had such a bubbly and genuine attitude. Always enthusiastic for things. Found out she was an anti-vaxxer. The hot-o-meter went from 100 to 0 in about 4 years ago. I went on a first date with a man I had a crush on. We went to the movies and when it was finished, he placed all the wrappers from his snacks on the seat, instead of throwing them in the trash can on our way out. I asked him about this, and he said he earned the right to do that because of the high cost of the ticket. I lost interest immediately. It was a weird one, because I just realized that I wasn't visually attracted to her. She had the best personality ever. She deserves someone who appreciates her. And wish her the best of luck. Smelled terrible. I'd had a crush on this guy for a while who was admittedly out of my league. One night after a few drinks I confessed it to our mutual friend just to sort of gauge whether or not I should go for it. The friend immediately burst out laughing. Like doubled over. Tears in the eyes laughing. And wouldn't tell me why. I mean, I knew why. It immediately killed the crush and I felt ashamed whenever I looked at him after that. Ouch. Also, that doesn't sound like a good kind of a friend. I had a celebrity crush on a singer. She has a great voice, charming looks and everything. I remember running to my friend's house just to tell him how cool she is. Fast forward to about 2 years. I was very excited about getting to watch an interview which was hosted by a legendary comic. Everything was going well until for the answer to a question. She said something like, "Oh, IDK, you'd know about this because this is something only famous people know." And I was blown away. I realized the power and importance of humility. And how power can corrupt a person. I instantly lost my respect for her. Fast forward to last month. She faced nationwide critique for irresponsibly throwing a party and getting people infected by COVID-19. And the hospital issued a statement that they would not cater to her starry demands and she has to behave like a patient. I am talking about Kanika Kapoor. Look her up if you want a background. A lesson learned. I was on a date with a girl. She's American and I'm from London. Throughout the night she kept insulting my British accent, saying it was fake and stupid. Also she kept telling me I'm pronouncing English words wrong. I wasn't. Then she kept telling other British people in the bars that they're pronouncing English words wrong. She was stunning. But her behavior instantly made me think of her as ugly. as soon as they weren't single anymore. It's like, when I know they're single, I really like them. But as soon as they get a GF. She was homophobic. I'm bisexual and heard I had a small crush on her. I'm female, and she tried making the whole class turn against me. Everyone ganged up on her and she ended up moving school. He thinks that COVID-19 is a democratic hoax. When I was 13 I made him a poem, yeah. I know. Cringy, and put it in his backpack. Next day he gave it back to me. Graded and made corrections on my spelling and a little note saying I won't tell anyone. Just work on your spelling next time. Like hell I will give him another one. He gave an 8. Though. He started listening to Glenn Beck's radio show and referred to Beck as one of the few people who really gets it. She used the Google search bar to search Google, then clicked the first result to take her to the Google homepage. He was acting like a jerk. What is the D slur? Had a crush on a dude my freshman year of college, but he had a girlfriend in high school. However, he continuously flirted with me all the time and I just went with it. Then one day his girlfriend came to visit and she wrote on my whiteboard on my door. Still have no idea what the hell this guy told his girlfriend about me, so I ignored him after that. We grew apart. And I eventually realized there was no way we would ever be emotionally compatible. So I eventually severed all ties with him. Making me wake up from a dream and realize that she is fictional. She was pretty shallow. Complaining that she hates herself when she drinks. Then goes and buys beer to drink. Okay, I get it. I hate myself for the amount of food I eat. Yet I eat to comfort myself because of my feelings. But to ask her nicely if she could at least wait until we had stopped driving before having an open container of alcohol, I would appreciate it, as it is against the law whether I'm drinking it or not. And not respecting my wishes. Got into a verbal fight about her drinking and not respecting my wish about not drinking in my moving vehicle. I dumped her that night. One day before Thanksgiving. In 3rd grade I overheard my crush say oh my god. And I was never allowed to take the Lord's name in vain. I wish there were more childhood ones like this.